Al Knapp, and you'll be followed by Sherry Hart. Nope, we're going to have to take a brief recess for the court reporter. Go ahead, Mr. Knapp.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? I'm a public health practitioner. I've been working in public health now for over 6 years. I'm a public health practitioner, and I've been working in public health now for the past 6 years. I studied my MPH. I received my master's in 2010. Currently, I'm studying for my PhD. I want to thank the DEC for a very long and exhaustive process. We, as people, appreciate both sides giving our opinion. For a very long time, I was sitting on the fence, not knowing exactly what to believe. And we heard so many different things. In public health, when we talk about public health and natural gas together, we get this negative connotation. Public health deals with social and economic disparities. Low-income populations are the highest disparities. Income in and of itself is a disparity. Lack of income means higher incidences of chronic diseases. We all know that. In my studies, I'm finding areas in Dallas, Colorado, and PA where the quality of life issues are increasing. Social and economic disparities are decreasing. People are becoming healthier. People have access to income. That's decreasing the health disparities. Healthcare and primary care providers is increasing. People are eating healthier foods and are generally able to take care of themselves. We are also developing a competent workforce if this goes through. People are living longer because of income bridges, the social economic disparities. This is collected from Texas and Colorado data, since they've been drilling longer. I tried looking at cancer increases and could not find any correlation between drilling and the increase of cancer rates. Processed foods, obesity, lack of exercise are all mixed in with behavioral attributes, which does not give a clear picture that drilling causes these cancer incidences. Dimock, PA. I personally went down to Dimock, PA and interviewed with families there. And I agree with the person who submitted earlier that you should go down and take a look. I also encourage you to get the last 10 years of data. That will show that the methane levels in that water were very high and were as a pre-existing condition. I used to be against drilling. I no longer am. I support natural gas because I've been listening to the facts. Judith Enck said it well. I believe it was Lisa Brown in front of the congressional hearing. In 2010, under oath, there was no contaminated wells in the United States due to hydrostatic fracturing. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry Hart, and you'll be followed by Roy Lackner.
Wow, that guy's tall. This afternoon, I have heard the opposition use the words deliberately misleading, full disclosure, and transparency. Well, I'd like to hit upon two issues that they did. The allegation that we are going to export the Marcellus shale gas and none of it's going to stay here at home. First of all, there's only one working LNG export facility, and that's located at the tip of Alaska, and we don't have the pipeline capacity to get the Marcellus gas to that facility. Only one has been approved, and conversion will not be completed until 2014 at the earliest. The Dominion would then only ship 1 billion cubic foot per day, which is 1.5% of the country's daily usage. China has 150% as much reserves as we do, and they are actively seeking to expand their own domestic energy resource extraction. Another allegation that was made this afternoon was that the frac fluid found in the water wells in Pavilion, Wyoming is due to the hydrofracturing. That has not been conclusively said yet. 2-butoxyethanol, also known as 2-BE, was discovered in some water wells. This is not a compound found exclusively in frac fluid, though, but also in other products such as cleaners. From an August 2010 study on the evaluation of contaminants in private well water for Pavilion, concentration in wells with detections for 2BE were 2.1 picograms per liter, or 1 part per billion at their highest. The study concluded that these concentrations were highly unlikely to be associated with any adverse health effects. And doing the calculations, I came up with something like you would have to drink 10,000 gallons of water in one day to even reach the highest. The allegations of drilling opponents have been taken at face value with no further research, and I can understand people's concerns if they don't do their own research. When claims are investigated and the truth comes to light, no evidence indicates natural gas should not be the most logical choice to help this country become energy independent. There are real people who have suffered and lost in New York while no drilling has occurred. New York has spent 3.5 years bowing down to the emotional but baseless pleas of drilling opponents who have campaigned against natural gas in favor of their own preferences, sustainables and renewables. For the good of the state and of the country, quit stalling, quit trying to reinvent the wheel, and overregulate the industry and get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Roy Lackner, followed by Albert Crudo.
Thank you. The similarity of the oil and gas industry to the whaling fleets and infrastructure of yesteryear are striking. Just as Edison and Tesla introduced new methods and technology for producing light and energy, today, so too have the improvements and perfecting of solar, wind, microhydro, and geothermal technologies, the real jobs of the future to grow the economy of the future. The oil and gas industry's pursuit of shale and oil sands as the equivalent of former whalers searching for the last remaining whales off the North Atlantic. As a country and people, we can and will do better than this. Re-engineer your drill rigs into windmills, your toxic waste lagoons into sustainable fish farms. Build pipelines for clean water to go to, yes, drought-stricken Texas, where the governor doesn't even believe in global warming, and elsewhere that needs our clean water from the Northeast. If they need natural gas so badly to further their financial feeding frenzy, go to the tundra and capture the methane as it escapes the thawing Northlands and exacerbates the global warming that is taking place. Certain areas should always be protected for the benefit of posterity. New York State is just such a place. The Great Lakes are such a place. High volume hydraulic fracturing is a clear and present danger to our nation's headwaters and aquifers. Let's put this genie back in the bottle and protect our remaining sustainable Earth systems from the onslaught of greed and ignorance. I'm reading this on behalf of a gentleman that worked for Trout Unlimited that had to leave because they gave him some ridiculous number where he'd never be able to speak. Regarding the wastewater produced in drilling process, the handling of flowback water needs to be tightly regulated. Wastewater should be classified as the hazardous waste that it is. Taking wastewater to treatment plants that are not equipped to remove this type of contaminant found in wastewater should be prohibited. Mud and water that results from drilling carries radioactivity to the surface along with the toxic chemicals. New York State is a fractured geology. They have no clue where these fractures go, and anything short of this is Russian roulette with our future. Why would Aubrey McClendon, the head of Chesapeake Oil, say, why would the wealth from one well be so much as to jeopardize New York City's water? When the head of the CEO knows that it's a flawed process, then it certainly is. When the DEC knows that there's no safe way to protect Syracuse and New York City's water from this industry, then there is no way to protect all of us. Equal protection under the law, and as to you people that have been taken advantage by this industry, that paid you pennies on your dollars, I represent 2 farms, 300 acres of which, and we want no part of this drilling. We don't want their blood money, and it's not worth it.
Thank you, sir. Albert Crudo, followed by Charlton Cory.
I'm Albert Crudo, and I'm from the Friends of Sydney, Sustainable Sydney. 2 down, 3 to go, Sydney. You did the right thing last week. Shout out. Woo! I cannot believe that I had to come here today to plead for the safety of my water and health. I always thought when I was growing up that adults were rational and caring beings. I was wrong. The greed that is the sole motivation for the wanting of this fracking nightmare to begin in New York is irrepressible. We have forgotten. Have we forgotten such catastrophic events such as Love Canal and Agent Orange? Just two of the slew of things that have foisted on an unsuspecting public at our expense with disastrous and lethal results. And as pathetic as this next statement is, we are fortunate enough to have examples of people suffering through the reality of drilling in Pennsylvania, North Dakota, and Arkansas. The industry itself admits that the process contaminates. The Marcellus Shale Coalition, the largest PR firm for this industry, admitted responsibility for contaminating water around Pittsburgh. So why are we still debating this issue? Do we ever learn from our past mistakes? If we are going to ignore the blatant illustration of what we're in for if this goes through, it is truly a sad commentary on our society as a whole. And actually, the saddest thing is we already possess the most valuable resource on Earth, water. And if we're smart and keep this land unpolluted, we will hold the most expensive real estate on the planet. I hate to admit this, but at this moment, I'm embarrassed to be human. And Mr. Cuomo, you should be ashamed for even considering allowing this devastation to happen. Ban fracking now and rescind the SGEIS.
Thank you. Charlton Cory. You'll be followed by Dr. Oliver.
My experience. It's my experience that once a person has an accurate understanding of hydrofracking, they want nothing to do with it. They don't understand why anyone would support it, especially our government. Normally, they express it's all about the money. I too believe it's all about the money, but I'm willing to entertain an additional explanation. Perhaps people feel removed from the potential impacts. Perhaps they see this process as never coming to their community. This would certainly be valid for people who reside in, say, suburban Albany or Westchester counties. But somehow these folks need to understand those of us who are being told we will have to live with fracking. I have a plan to help them develop some empathy. First, they will need to park a good-sized diesel generator somewhere on their property. It will run 24/7. In the evening, it will power a large bank of stadium lights, turning nights into days. Next, they will need to find a source of VOCs which can be vented in the vicinity of the generator. Before long, they will be living in a cloud of ozone. They will also need to place a 500-gallon water buffalo somewhere on their property. It will be filled with water on a regular basis. They will never run out of water. But they will not know the source nor the safety of the water. They will use this water for all their domestic needs, including cooking and drinking. They can test it as often as they see fit. Each test will cost approximately $800. They will need to decide how often they will test, perhaps every few months. They will also need to decide for how far into the future they will continue the testing. Will it be for the next 5, 10, or even 50 years? They could ponder this as they sit in their driveway in their parked car for an hour every morning, or for as long as the average daily commute is extended because of heavy truck traffic. They will never have to worry about getting out of their driveway during the winter, as they will be provided with an unlimited amount of flowback brine for spraying on their driveway. They will have to worry about the runoff getting into their gardens or being tracked into their homes by family, friends, and pets. The brine will not be tested for radioactivity, heavy metals, or carcinogenic chemicals. They will just have to take their chances with all of that. At the end of the workday, they can sit in their driveway for another hour. They could think about, as they sit in their driveway for another hour, they could think about what they will do with the 90% of their home equity. Shall they donate it to a charity of their choice or just write a check to any given gas company? My guess is that after living this way for a while, their view of fracking will change. And I have one more suggestion. Let's start this experiment at the homes of Joe Martens and Andrew Cuomo. After all, it's not like this gas will make us independent from foreign oil or bring our soldiers home. which, by the way, is the most misleading and insensitive claim.
Thank you, sir.
The
The next speaker is Dr. Kris Oliver, and he will be followed by Asher Terwilliger.
First of all,
you need to speak right on the mic, sir.
that better?
There you go.
Thanks. First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being heard. Being from upstate New York, it's unusual that our concerns are heard because so many times they're drowned out from downstate and other regions. I'm here to speak for the landowners and anyone else from upstate that cannot afford to take off work to have their voice heard. I am part of a coalition of over 20,000 households, approximately 70,000 members, and owning over 800,000 acres of land. We've heard the pros and cons about natural gas drilling and the fracking process. So for the last 3 years, we've spent the time investigating this process ourselves, searching for the truths from the facts from our firsthand experiences. We've driven all over New York, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, listening to the experts, talking to landowners, going to well sites and fracking jobs, contacting local residents, and digging up any information related to natural gas drilling and the fracking process. After years of searching and combining all this information, we've come to an informed, educated conclusion about the natural gas process and fracking. We've known and seen it done time and time again, safely and effectively. We are pro-natural gas drilling, pro-fracking, and most of all, pro-landowner rights. I grew up upstate New York on a water well, as most of my friends and family, and there's been over 70,000 natural gas wells drilled in this region and fracked. They've been fracking for over 60 years. I've never heard any of my family members, friends, or even myself ever known of anyone say you can't drink the water from our well because it's been contaminated from natural gas drilling or the fracking process. If this was such a common phenomenon, we would at least have heard someone, but we never did. So the more we investigated the negative accusations, the more holes and non-truths we found. We investigated an image of a faucet being lit on fire, but we found out that the methane that was in the water had nothing to do with natural gas drilling or the fracking process. It had been naturally occurring in that region for years and before natural gas drilling or fracking occurred, and that fact was known before the movie was even made. This is the type of irresponsible journalism that is consistent with any extremists, regardless of the issue. They don't look for facts, they look for drama, use scare tactics to intimidate and bully individuals. The fact is, there have been over 1 million wells drilled and fracked in the U.S., including gas wells, oil wells, and yes, even some geothermal wells have been fracked. And there is no proof to show that this process has ever contaminated any of those wells. All we ask is that you take what you've learned, move ahead with this process. We've waited, investigated, and endured enough stall tactics from those who never will support this process, regarding of the overwhelming facts that proves this process can be done safely. We are the educated landowners from upstate New York. We've done our due diligence. Please uphold our rights as the landowners and give us that option. Thank you.
Thank you. Arthur Terwilliger, and you'll be followed by, looks like LaTourette Bryant.
My name's Asher Terwilliger. I'm District 4 Director for New York Farm Bureau. I was lucky enough to inherit ground zero for gas drilling, which is Tioga, Chemung, Steuben, Schuyler, and Tompkins. I'm not going to raise my voice to make my point or get applause. I'm going to tell you that I applaud the DEC for taking the time that they've taken over the course of these many years to draw us up a regulatory form. I have been involved in this discovery since 1998, and I'm sure that there's some government officials here who will attest to the fact that put on the first seminar about gas drilling in the year 2000, September of 2000. I've put them on all over Pennsylvania and New York State, and for the first few years was told how crazy I was. Farm Bureau has backed DEC, as you know. We have also contributed to the SGEIS. Regulatory. It's fine to have regulatory. I heard people up here say, well, they're going to drill within so many feet of my house. They have a right to do that. Regulatory don't give them a right to do that. If you don't sign the proper lease, that gives them a right to do that. On your land, your best protection is your lease. I have 5 counties, like I said, and I visit all 5 counties, and we represent approximately 70% of the large landowners and farms in that county through Farm Bureau. 90% of those favor drilling for natural gas in New York State. By the way, I should say that Farm Bureau has backed water well protection, other water protection, additional well casings to prevent gas penetration, spill control, stormwater control, regulating water withdrawals, permit conditions, science regarding groundwater contamination, flowback water disposal, drilling production waste tracking, water treatment facilities, local government notification, local land use and zoning, chemical identification, chemical alternatives, offsetting community impacts. We have been totally involved. We want this. We are the stewards of this land. We are the one that work the land, depend on the land, depend on the water. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Drew Griffin, Ron Doherty, and John Davis.
Mr. Bryant?
Yes. On September 25th, earlier this year, I had the opportunity to go to DMIC. I went to DMIC because I had to make up my mind. As a landowner, hearing all the news on the TV, on the radio, in the paper, on how bad DMIC is, the wasteland. I had to see for myself because there was a Save DMIC rally that was there. And I figured the community would tell the story. So if I went there, and the population, by the way, of DMIC is 1,400 people. The population of Susquehanna County, where DMIC is located, is 40,000. Surely a cry would go out and the community would tell the story. I went there, along with a few others. This would set me as a landowner and all the misinformation straight, because the community would be there. Just like so many of you here today complaining about the water, the problems with the water. 4 people from DMIC were there, and those were the litigants. Where were you? When they called for your help, where were you? The community told the story. So you really have to wonder, what's the real story behind all this? Thank you.
Thank you. Enzo Olivierri. And the next speaker will be Drew Griffin.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. My name is Enzo Oliveri. I reside in Greene, New York. I am a resident of New York State for 6 years now, and been going back and forth for about 20 years or so. I'm not going to bore you with the SGS. You guys already know it. All I need to say is enough is enough. Let's move forward. All I hear is negativity, why we can't do it, why we can't do it. I don't hear anything saying why we can do it, how we can build facilities to clean the water. We have companies here in the United States that can clean the water, can take raw sewage and make it drinking water. We can do it, okay? Let's stick to the facts. The facts are that I know, and I will say, that it creates jobs. I've been in Pennsylvania, I've been in West Virginia. It creates jobs. It creates money and wealth for people that are around there. They build new schools without taxpayer money. The state has the opportunity right now, as we sit here, underneath us we have the largest resource of natural gas here, okay? We have the best resources. We have milk, our dairy farmers, who have been destroyed by people from outside the area paying them pennies on a dollar on their milk, okay? We have resources. Cooperstown, I heard them before. You have great water. Absolutely. Are you benefiting from it? Absolutely not. Okay? You have the Delaware County. Again, New York City taking the water, not getting paid for it. They haven't built one new school. I didn't see New York City write a check and other places. So I agree with you in a point, and I disagree with you in a large point. My wife and I were against it in the beginning, and then I said to myself, I said, let's look at things here a little bit more practical. We're getting toys from overseas that are lined with lead, but yet we still sell the stuff. You people are fighting the wrong fight, okay? We also have, you know, for instance, Scope mouthwash. Look at the bottom of mouthwash. It says hazardous if it's swallowed. Did you ever see that? Exactly. So again, I'm not going to bore you. I'm not going to run out all the time. The DEC knows what they're doing. Let's stop the goofing around and the politics. Let's move forward. And let's bring the economy back to upstate New York. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Griffin, and you'll be followed by Ron Doherty.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Okay, he has your card. Not here.
Not here. Okay. Ron Doherty, and you'll be followed by John Davis, MD.
My name is Ronald Doherty, and for 6 years in the 1990s, I served as chairman of the Tioga County Legislature with a follow-on responsibility as director of Tioga County Economic Development. With these responsibilities, I was involved in several successful and some unsuccessful responsibilities involved in developing economic projects in our county. It is with this background today that I wish to share my current concerns regarding the current DGIS in the development of natural gas. The current regulations contain a number of requirements which will add an inordinate and non-competitive cost of production impact on the potential natural gas developers, which will then have the potential to drive these producers to other more friendly cost of production states. Excessive setbacks, prohibition of surface operations in state lands, plus onerous requirements with negligible environmental benefit will result in negating a key DEC responsibility to encourage and support the ultimate recovery of oil and gas resource in our state. Even more importantly, these barriers go against the New York State Energy Plan and will deprive New York of a reliable source of long-term, cleaner energy, plus significant job growth and tax revenues for the state and local communities. I would like to conclude this story with another concern best stated under the caption, "What's wrong with this story?" As a former leader in local government, I am very familiar with the endless battle to control both out-of-control local and state budgets, plus an excessive and uncompetitive tax burden in spite of the governor of New York State Legislature last year doing an effective job in developing our 2011 budget without major tax increases. Where are we today with the numbers? There's a projected shortfall of some $350 million in the current year, with a potential $3.5 billion deficit in 2013. All of this adds up to the perfect example of killing the goose that could produce the golden egg for a sustained economic recovery. The bottom line is, New York State cannot, with a $50 billion Medicaid expense, plus a high debt burden at all levels of state and local governments, hope to survive without taking advantage of every economic opportunity that comes along. That includes development of natural gas. I realize the New York State Legislature,
Thank you, sir.
DEC, plus our elected representatives.
Sir, your time is up.
And a wide, thank you.
May I have John Davis? You'll be followed by Kevin Frisby. Sorry, is this Mr. Frisby?
Present.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Right. Hi, my name is Kevin Frisby. I'm from Tioga County, New York, and I'm also a dairy farmer. I've milked cows for 32 years. I just recently sold the cows to some nephews, so now I'm in the crop business. And the reason I'm here today, I'm also the president of Tioga County Farm Bureau, represent 350 farmers and rural families of Tioga County. And we overwhelmingly approve of the gas drilling in Tioga County. But I also want to say is that for the 35 years I've been in production agriculture, I also spray chemicals. And DEC, that's under your purview of controlling how chemicals are spread across New York State. And for 30 years, I sprayed just my own chemicals on my own cropland, but 5 years ago, I went to the commercial business, and also under DEC's purview, I take great pride in applying chemicals in a fair fashion and according to label directions. And I have absolute faith that DEC can and will support the gas drilling and the DGIS, and they will find a way to control so it's done in a profitable manner and it's done safe for our water and our air. I do think that the document's a living document. It's not set in stone what's in there today. And as things come and arise in the next 10 years, as we have, just say as the gas frac has come in, we may be able to eliminate the water out of the fracking process. New technologies will provide that the DEC can and will control the whole program in a profitable manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll call down Linda Crowley and Robert Crowley.
Go ahead, Ms. Crowley.
My name is Linda Crowley. I'm a landowner in a very small rural area in Taylor. The pro-industry bigwigs are blustering about too strict regulations and unnecessary restrictions. The NIMBYs and the anti-development activists are whining about too much leniency and not enough controls. In my book, that suggests that you've got it about right. The point is, you spent a lot of time on this project. You've looked at it from multiple angles, and you've tried to keep an open mind while you struggled with conflicting research, misinformation, and differing priorities. Now, as your work comes to fruition, some folks are trying to convince you it's all wrong. They want to confuse the issue to make you second-guess yourself until all comes to a standstill. This is not the time to fall victim to political machinations and mind games. You've done the best possible. You've prayerfully labored to do right by all of us. Now is the time to stand firm, trust your decisions, and move ahead with confidence. We don't need more studies and endless delays. We need to take what we have and get to work creating jobs and energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Crowley.
Thank you for letting me be here. DEC should protect our environment, but it should not create a hostile business environment in the process. And I have here a letter that was an email sent to our group, the Taylor Land Group, from a company in Colorado. And it says, I wanted to write you a quick email in response to your September letter. I don't know your group, and this letter is in no way intended to throw stones at you all. Your letter just ended up on my desk, and I wanted to write back to someone in New York with some thoughts. We are a family-owned company out of Denver, Colorado. We have 6 people in our office, and we are the definition of small business. We aren't big oil, and we appreciate the environment and the outdoors as much or more than most. In fact, I am probably going to jump on my mountain bike after I finish writing this email. We've tried to do business in New York, and for the past decade, and frankly, it has been a very trying experience. We've been stewards of the land, worked honestly with the surface and mineral owners, and generally tried to do business the right way. From my grandfather to my dad to myself, we've had the pleasure of doing business in numerous countries around the world and states in the U.S., and we've never experienced the outright hostility to our industry as has been the case in New York. Whether it is the government bureaucracy, the misinformation and outright lies about fracking, or the general hostility to resource development, your state simply does not want this industry's business. New York very well might have tremendous Utica and Marcellus resources, but so do lots of other places like North Dakota, Nebraska, Wyoming, etc. At some point, you have to say life is just too short and take your time, your jobs, your donations to the 4-H and fire department, etc., and your money and put them someplace where they are appreciated and not reviled. Like I said at the beginning, I am not pointing fingers at your group. I just want you to know how I and probably lots of other people in my business feel. If anyone in the Southern Tier needs a job, the most reviled company in America, Halliburton, is hiring 11,000 people this year in North Dakota alone. Someone with a high school education can make $125,000 a year within 2 years. That job could be in New York, but it's not. And that was from Helm Energy, Mega Energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're coming to the close of the afternoon session. I wanted to remind those of you who did not have an opportunity to speak that you may get back in line to sign up for the evening session. In addition, those of you who didn't, who have additional comments or whatever, please feel free to submit those in writing, either at the address that was provided to you earlier or in the boxes that are over at the tables near the entrance. So I'll turn it back over to Judge Sherman to close the hearing.
That concludes the 1 o'clock session. We will reconvene at 6 o'clock. Thank you.